Once we found out Rylae had AADC deficiency, our approach in how we cared for her changed. We thought she was having seizures. And, the first time we went to the hospital, they administered diazepam to her, put her out. And I hated seeing my daughter like that. But if it was a seizure and it was lasting for these long durations, it meant possibly having brain damage that was not going to be repairable. So obviously it was like, yeah. And then we were prescribed medication that just left her sleepy. I hated carrying her because she was already floppy. Then she has this medication that made her sleep the entire day, and I would just hold her limp in my arms, and it was the worst feeling ever. And then, later on the road, when I'm able to look back on all of this that happened, we weren't doing belly time. I was scared about hurting her. I didn't understand what was happening to her body. She was in these positions, and I was scared to move her. Once we knew that she had AADC deficiency, we were proactive in providing therapy. I knew that what we could do to help her, or at least put her into these positions where I knew that she was safe. It wasn't hurting her. I knew a little bit more about what was happening to her body. I knew that she wasn't having seizures, so I felt a different feeling in how I could approach her when it was happening. I could soothe her. My heart rate wasn't going through my chest. Like, please, I wanted it to end, but I knew that it wasn't going to lead to brain damage. And then also the positioning of her body. So now we know that we should have moved her around because it could cause problems with the hip development. And she ended up having to have hip surgery, dislocated hip surgery. So that was maybe partly due to not moving her around, because when you're bedridden, not having that movement in the hip joint doesn't allow it to form properly. And then also when she's having what's known as oculogyric crisis, she would have like these dystonic movements that caused her limbs to twist and contort. And that also may have led to her having that dislocated hip. So now I can talk with parents that, hey, if your child has AADC deficiency, you need to be able to move them around. You need to be aware that the development of the hip may not occur correctly because they're bedridden, and there's things that you can do. The other thing is we learned about some of the consequences of having this disease, such as aspiration. I didn't know that. She was admitted twice to ICU and nearly died because we fed her the best we could. We never had to put her on a feeding tube. Some parents have to go to a feeding tube, and it's actually safer. But even with the feeding tube, you have to worry about aspiration, because when you're laying down, they don't have this muscle controlling their food staying down. So it could actually creep up if they're laying flat and go down their air pipes and into their lungs, causing an infection. So after we knew this and we went through the ICU, we learned that we should be keeping her at a 45-degree angle to make sure that she doesn't have aspirations. There's other consequences such as we're more aware about her sugar levels, and then also making sure she has enough water, what we can do because of these sweating episodes that she has, a couple of other things, but knowledge is power. And obviously we didn't want to hear that we had this incurable disease with no treatment, but it also gave us the power to provide some sort of therapy, and then also make memories with our daughter. We knew what was happening, and we could understand it better, and then we could live the best life that we could with her.